Hello everyone. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Anime Dreams. Today, our fanfic topic is: what if Sasuke and Hinata became missing nin together? Disclaimer: the content on this channel is for entertainment and discussion purposes only. I do not own any of the anime footage used in my videos. All rights and credits go to their respective creators and copyright holders. Let's dive right in. Under normal circumstances, 4 years would have sufficed for someone in Sasuke's position to regain the village's trust and erase the blemish of once joining the Akatsuki. However, when he wasn't on his self-appointed missions, he made minimal efforts to interact with others. Rumors about a rogue shinobi resembling the former Avenger, instilling fear and brutality among would-be enemies, did nothing to ease the discomfort people felt around him. Although the Konoha Council had sentenced him to 3 years of imprisonment for his betrayal, they still didn't trust him enough to assign missions. To earn their trust, Sasuke had to marry a woman from Konoha. Impossible, he thought. Marrying an annoying woman and settling down in Konoha was unacceptable to him. The idea of those obsessed women jumping on him and claiming him as their own sent chills down his spine. Sakura was the only woman he had been close to, but even that was painful. He hated her annoying screams, flirtations, and taunts. She was bearable compared to his other fangirls, but he couldn't marry her because she had always been just a companion to him, nothing more, nothing less. With that thought, Sasuke emptied his second sake bottle. He was sitting on the balcony of his apartment, with Sake and Moonlight as his only companions. The cold breeze swayed the tall trees and grass, while the stars twinkled in the dark sky. Sasuke enjoyed the peace and calm of the atmosphere. He was about to open his third bottle of sake when he heard the main door of his apartment being opened slowly. The black-haired man immediately stood up in a defensive position and then forcefully pulled the door open. As soon as he did that, the intruder toppled over him due to the force with which the door was yanked open. Sasuke cursed himself as he lost his balance and fell to the floor with the intruder on top of him. Groaning, the Uchiha activated his Sharingan to retaliate but froze when he saw a tangle of long violet hair in his face and felt a soft body pressing against his chest. A girl? No, a woman? He thought. He quickly lifted himself and found two beautiful pearly eyes looking at him with a hint of fear. Hyuga? Ano you Uchiha-san, I'm sorry for causing this accident. Sasuke was bewildered. Out of nowhere, a stuttering Hyuga with blushing cheeks had broken into his apartment in the middle of the night, pushed him to the floor, landed on his chest, and then apologized for the chaos she had caused. To say the Uchiha was angry would be an understatement. He didn't know whether to throw this strange girl out of his apartment or lash out at her for disturbing his peace. Who the hell are you? And how dare you break into my apartment and attack me? And no, Uchiha-san. I didn't mean to attack you, Hinata cursed herself for blushing so hard. It was impossible for her not to, given that she had intruded without his permission. Furthermore, she was sitting in his lap with her hands on his chest, and Sasuke was so close that she could feel his warm breath on her face. Her cold body felt cozy in his warmth. Comfortable, aren't we, Hyuga? Or should I make you more comfortable? Sasuke snorted, further embarrassing Hinata. Hinata quickly apologized and got up, feeling her insides twist with embarrassment. Sasuke stood up, radiating a deadly aura. Hinata gulped, knowing she wouldn't be spared for disturbing him, but she had no other choice. Give me one good reason not to kill you, Hyuga. The Uchiha's icy tone sent chills down her spine. You Uchiha-san. 5 seconds, Hyuga. Speak and get out. Ano. 4. Why you? Stop stuttering and wasting my time unless you want to end up dead. Want. Hyuga, will you stop testing my patience? Hinata had reached her limit. Clenching her fists in frustration, she gathered all her courage and shouted at the top of her lungs, will you marry me, Uchiha? An hour ago. In the dim corridors of the sprawling Hyuga mansion, the rustling of trees echoed against the windows. Hinata's eyes fluttered open, glancing at her clock to confirm it was midnight. She curled up again, but a fleeting thought flashed in her mind: this is my last chance to escape. Dressed in clean clothes, she carefully brushed her long, thick dark hair, ensuring she made no noise. Taking a small bag, she stealthily left the mansion, fully aware that evading a family of skilled ninjas wouldn't be easy. Thankfully, she knew the exact path to follow to avoid being caught. Hinata quickly reached the Konoha outskirts. She used her Byakugan to find her destination and also to prevent anyone from spotting her. After a tedious search, she finally found her destination. The Uchiha's heiress knew what would happen if any of her friends or villagers see her going to the last Uchiha's apartment at an unusual hour. Further, she did not know what would be Sasuke's reaction on seeing her in his home. Although she had grown out of her nervousness, but the thought of the Sharingan Wilder invoked her old habits of nervousness and stutter. She mentally cursed herself and took a deep breath. He was her last chance and she wouldn't miss it for anything in the world. Flashback. Hinata was summoned by her father for discussing some official matters. She knew that this has something to do with her coming of age. She mentally dreaded for not being able to succeed in the quest. Hyuga Hyashi had given her 2 years to find an eligible suitor for herself so that she could escape the caged seal and the humiliation of not being the heiress to the clan. Her father was kind enough to give her this freedom, but if she didn't find a man by the end of 2 years, she would be betrothed to someone outside Konoha. Naturally, Hinata didn't want this. She didn't want to leave Konoha, her friends, Hanabi, and become some foreigner's wife. Caged seal was much better than marrying outside Konoha. But then, she remembered her mother's wish. She promised her mother that she would not allow Hanabi or herself to be sealed. The only option was marrying someone of the same status as the Hyuga from Konoha. Throughout these 2 years, she couldn't find anyone. Kiba and Shino were her best friends. Neji Ni her cousin. Shikamaru was with Temari. Lee or Sai or even Naruto can't be tied to a powerful clan like hers. Naruto. That name itself was painful to her. She knows that he would help her if she spoke about her dilemma, but she didn't want to do only him. But even Shino or Kiba would have married her, but she couldn't be selfish enough to ask them only for her benefit. Hinata sighed. Nothing, no more options left now. Daughter, after 6 months the time I gave you will end, Hyashi spoke with a stern voice. Yes, father, she merely bowed her head. As expected, you haven't found an eligible suitor. Hence after 6 months you will be engaged to a rich feudal lord's son from the land of fire. Father, please give me some time, Hinata pleaded. She didn't want this. 6 months only, Hinata, after that everything will happen like planned if you don't present an eligible suitor. Hyashi pitied his daughter, but he had no choice. After all, she was the eldest and still she failed to become a powerful clan leader. He knew Hinata would never escape from her fate, but still he wished to give her time because he still cared for her well-being, although he didn't want anyone to know about it. The Hyuga had slowly walked towards the door, leaving Hinata alone. 6 months, Kami-sama, help me. The poor girl started weeping, thinking about her situation. Nothing could save her from her fate. She knew her father was trying, but as the head of the clan even he had his limitations. It was then something struck in her mind. She had not thought about him. It all then built a hope in her heart. Uchiha Sasuke. He was from one of the most prestigious clan, just like the Hyuga, royal by blood, a strong shinobi who was feared by everyone, certainly a potential suitor for the Hyuga clan's heiress. If she could convince him, then he would solve all her problems. A faint smile etched on the teary face of the pearl-eyed girl. Yes, Uchiha Sasuke must be the key to her all problems. The princess walked into the fearsome Uchiha's apartment, and with all the courage left in her, she opened the door, counting on the only hope she had now. Sasuke stood there with his mouth hung open and eyes bulged out. Surely it must be the sake. He cursed himself for drinking. 2 entire body went numb when he heard what the Hyuga screamed. For a moment he thought he had lost his senses. A weird girl created all this ruckus at midnight to propose him. It then clicked to him, she must be a crazy fangirl. But she looked too familiar to him. Are you some fangirl? Stalker? Get out before I strangle you to death. Uchiha-san, I am neither of them. You must remember me. I'm Hyuga Hinata. We were in the same academy. Doby stalker? Sasuke mocked at her. What? Weren't you that weird skinny girl who was all over that idiot Naruto? Embarrassed, Hinata covered her face with her hands. Was she that desperate, back then, that everybody noticed her? That was in the past, Uchiha-san. So did the Doby reject you? Has nothing to do with Naruto-kun. So you came here to confess your undying love for me? Sasuke grabbed the bottle to drink sake. This girl was ruining his peace of mind. I don't have any feelings for Uchiha-san. Then what was this? Time pass? You stupid woman. Please listen to me, Uchiha-san. We both can get benefited if this alliance works. Sasuke was suspicious about her. She didn't look drunk or insane. Why the hell would she be so desperate for an alliance with him? Then, start explaining, Hyuga. My father is setting a marriage alliance for me with a feudal lord's son from the land of fire. He had given me 2 years' time for finding an ideal suitor. The time period is about to end. That's the reason for my request. What the hell is wrong? Do you need my permission to marry him? Hinata breathed in to calm herself. This man was surely testing her patience. What more could she expect from him? Uchiha-san, I want to marry you. By doing so I will not be sent far away and can stay in Konoha. I don't want to separate from my sister. It's the last thing I want to do. Ask that stupid Doby, do I look like Naruto to you? I meant not blind. If I asked Naruto-kun he would have married me, but that would make me selfish. He will not benefit anything from him marrying me. You think I will be benefited by marrying you? Dream on. Hinata was annoyed with all the taunts and remarks from Sasuke. She had no choice but to tolerate because she was the one here in need of help. Don't you remember the council's decision? Unless you marry a woman from Konoha you wouldn't be trusted. Sasuke bit his tongue to control his anger. How dare you mock at me in my house? You Uchiha-san. I'm merely stating the facts. If you marry me, you will be getting the approval of the council because Hyuga is the most influential clan in Konoha. I'm not a beggar. I don't want your pity. You shut your mouth and get out. Uchiha-san, please, I'm not pitying you. We both need this marriage as an escape from our problems. Please think carefully, we both can pull this off. Although Sasuke had an urge to decline this, he couldn't help but think about what the Hyuga girl said. The proposal was too tempting to refuse, but still he couldn't fully trust her intentions. Hinata felt Sasuke stare at her intensely. She felt like he was trying to know her true intentions. It made her shift her eyes uncomfortably. But she was happy that Sasuke didn't refuse it immediately, instead took his time to understand her proposal. She bit her lip and crossed her fingers hoping for a positive response. Hyuga, your proposal is clever enough to make me accept this, but still there isn't a reason for me to trust you. When have I given a reason for you to not trust me, Uchiha-san? Hinata asked boldly. So this girl can talk back. Uchiha-san, I'm from an honorable clan. I don't have any reason to use you. Believe me, do I look like one of your fangirls? Sasuke chuckled at her. She sure was interesting. So the kitten has claws, huh? Hinata blushed bright red. Kitten? On the contrary, it would be an amazing sight to see the prestigious Hyuga heiress as my fangirl showering chocolates and roses on me. Blushing red like a tomato, Hinata gasped slightly after interpreting his words. His fangirl? Me? I see you already imagined that. Like the idea? You Uchiha SSN, wouldn't. Hinata was so embarrassed that she wanted to run away from his sight. On the contrary, Sasuke enjoyed teasing the blue-haired woman. He thought that accepting the proposal won't be a bad idea, but still being a Uchiha, he simply can't accept her proposal that easily. Hyuga, let's get to the matter. I will accept the proposal only on certain conditions. Hinata smiled widely hearing Sasuke's positive response. Uchiha-san, thank you so much. You don't know how much this means to me. Easy there, Hyuga. First, this agreement shall stay between us only. Second, you will not interfere in my private business. Third, behave properly and be true to your words or else I will Chidori you. Sasuke didn't want anyone to know, especially Naruto, that it was because of the agreement with the Hyuga that he could become a ninja again. It was a matter of his pride. The princess nodded, as they were all genuine conditions, although the last one meant that he didn't trust her. Still, she knew better than to mess with him. Yes, Uchiha-san, I promise all these conditions will be met. HN, do you have any Hyuga? Why yes, Hinata was nervous to put forward her condition, although she agreed with his. What is it? I don't want anybody to know about this agreement. I want us to act as a real couple in LL love in front of my clan. No way her father was going to allow her to marry Sasuke. He was a former missing nin, S-class criminal and a traitor. His reputation wasn't good in the village. Even if it was, her father will still resent him, for he is a Uchiha. If Hiashi ever knows that his daughter went to Uchiha Sasuke for asking him to marry her for convenience, then his rage will know no bounds. Sasuke smirked. This girl is going to get him insane. HN, act like we are in love. Why yes. Hinata felt Sasuke walking towards her. What are you doing? Practice. Sasuke cornered her as he placed a hand on the wall beside her face. She didn't understand. What practice was he talking about? F for W what? PDA. Hinata blushed heavily when Sasuke cupped her cheeks. His warm hands, midnight eyes, she didn't know why, but she felt her heart could burst at any moment if HHEE. Thud. Sasuke chuckled at the Hyuga princess. Well, she can't even handle this and she wants to act like a couple in love. What an insane woman. He gathered her in his arms and placed her on his bed. The pearl-eyed woman lay comfortably on his soft mattress, her cheeks still warm from what happened back to the living room. Sasuke sighed as he sat on his sofa and emptied his bottle of sake. This is going to be a very long night. Hinata opened her eyes with great difficulty. She felt tired, her head hurt badly, but it was nice sleeping in this soft silk-like mattress that gave off a fine masculine smell. She felt addicted to it that she curled up nicely like a ball and buried her face in the sheets, inhaling the scent. Wait, WHHAAAT. Silk sheets, soft mattress, strong masculine scent, and then it clicked to her. Lengthy blue hair snapped to the side of her as she turned her enhanced eyes to meet his dark coal eyes. There in front of her was the great Uchiha Sasuke sitting in the chair beside the bed, widely grinning at her, no, mocking at her. Comfy, Hyuga? Blood rushed to her face on realizing that she slept in his bed and Sasuke saw everything she did. She mentally cursed herself for doing so. After all, she was the heiress. I didn't mean to. Yes, you didn't mean anything, but you barge into my house and sleep on my bed like a log. If anyone dared to do this, I would have gladly broken all his ribs. Hinata gulped on processing his words. She knew it was her fault, but then couldn't he be a little nicer to her? Please forgive me, Uchiha-san. Please don't cancel our agreement. You deprived 4 hours of my sleep, Hyuga. Anno, it's 5 in the morning? Do I look like a liar to you? Sasuke hissed at her, at which she flinched. A sleep-deprived Sasuke was much scarier than a drunk Sasuke. How was she supposed to deal with this now? No B, but I have to reach home before everybody wakes up. Ah. Hinata was so sleepy that she lost her balance and fell to the ground, making the jug, kept on the nightstand, empty the water on her. Just great, Hinata. TCH, what can I expect from you? Sasuke scoffed at her. Hinata got up and put the jug in place, but her clothes were completely wet. Why couldn't she watch her step? Uchiha-san, would you mind if I borrow a SS shirt? HN, my home, my bed, and now my shirt? Hinata felt her cheeks heat up as she nervously tucked her hair behind her ear. He always had to embarrass her like this. She cursed herself for being such a klutz. Please, Uchiha-san, I promise I'll clean up the mess and leave. HN, you think this is a hotel, where you can barge in anytime and leave anytime? No, I will make breakfast for you as a sorry for my actions, Uchiha-san. Sasuke stared at her blankly. So now will I be food poisoned, Hyuga? No, I promise, no more trouble. It better be. With that, Sasuke got up, threw a blue shirt at her and went to the bathroom while Hinata quickly changed her wet clothes. She then cleaned the mess in the room and then went to make breakfast. Toast, scrambled eggs and some tomato juice. Thanks to Sakura, Hinata knew tomatoes were the Avengers' favorites. Thinking about it, Uchiha Sasuke had always been a mystery to her. When they were younger, she could remember him being a sweet boy with a big smile. Girls flocked to him naturally because of his good looks, and Hinata was no different. While she could admit he was cute, her eyes had always been glued to the blonde outcast who had saved her from bullies all those years ago. Sasuke had never really piqued her interest while they were children. That was only amplified when the Uchiha clan had been massacred. Sasuke had, understandably, become withdrawn. His eyes lost all the light there once was, yet his aloof behavior attracted the other girls in her class. Hinata had a hard time trying to figure Uchiha's emotions, so she had dismissed him completely. Naruto was so opposite of him that it was refreshing. The sun had been in her focus for so long that it blinded her to the night. With a shake of her head, she realized that she was getting off topic. So she went on to set the table before the Avenger showed up. Sasuke dried his hair with his towel. He was still reluctant to agree to her proposal, but still this was the only way he could gain the council's trust. Surprisingly, he did not find the blue-haired woman annoying. Instead, he enjoyed teasing her. Brushing away all those thoughts, he walked out of his room only to find the Hyuga heir, wearing his blue shirt that almost reached till her knees, setting his table and serving food for him. Her light lavender scent filled his nostrils as she shifted to place the plates, before those pearl eyes locked onto his. His intense stare must have caught her off guard because she fidgeted once more before bowing her head to look at him again, a light pink flush on the apples of her cheeks. Uchiha-san, please sit down, I have prepared toasts and scrambled eggs. Sasuke sat down and tasted the food. Perfect, but he had too much pride to say it aloud. Hinata bit her lips in anticipation. She wanted to know if she messed this up again. How is it? Not bad. She knew Sasuke wouldn't compliment her. Nonetheless, she was happy with his response. Uchiha-san, about the agreement. Yes, Hyuga. We have to talk to my father, I have only 6 months left. Will the old man agree to have a S-class criminal as his son-in-law? Hinata chose to ignore the way Sasuke showed no respect to her father. No, he wouldn't, but we have to make him understand that we are in a serious relationship. Sasuke smirked. Serious? And what are you expecting from me? Hinata blushed again. She hated that Sasuke could make her blush with that sly smirk of his. If there's anything that's common in both of our clans, it is ego and pride. You know how to get everything in your favor. Just use your charms here too, Uchiha-san. To say Sasuke was surprised would be an understatement. This woman had left him speechless. But he wouldn't show it. Hyuga, I didn't know your father was a fan of my charms. Sasuke smirked at her as he finished his tomato juice. Those pearl-like eyes widened to saucers, as her mouth dropped in surprise. What? Why does he always have to twist her words into something else and embarrass her even more? Sasuke's actions were so amusing at times, it was so easy to get a reaction out of her concerning the most simple of things. He got up from his seat and cornered her as his hands pressed the wall on either sides of her head. Well, Hyuga, I am too dangerous to handle. So be careful not to get yourself burned. She bit the inside of her cheek to not faint again, but those black orbs as dark as the midnight sky mesmerized her. She spoke as those mysterious eyes captivated her. If you are made of flames, you can't get burned, Sasuke. Unknown to them, their hearts were beating wildly as they stared at each other in close proximity. They were clueless about what was happening to them. They just stood there enjoying that moment and taking in everything it had to offer. Padding down the tree-lined avenue to the Hokage's tower, two shinobi stepped into the shadow of an old hardwood. It was almost dawn and soft light flickered down around them. A few more steps, and they were back with all of Konoha glistening around them. Save for the birds and a few other early risers, the streets were empty and quiet. Both Shino and Shikamaru were exhausted from the 3-day mission. But they took their time enjoying the beautiful outskirts of their village. If they were an hour late, they would have missed the unusual peacefulness of the just waking village. And the crystalline drops that glinted from the tip of every leaf would have been gone. It's 5:30 a.m., this mission was troublesome, sighed the Nara who glanced at the brightening sky. Shino nodded while he adjusted his black glasses. We have to report to the Hokage about the men. Shikamaru lazily turned his head towards Shino. The Aburame man had abruptly ended what he spoke. What is it, Shino? My insects sensed Hinata here. Nara halted, turning to face Shino. What is she doing here at this hour? He wondered, puzzled by Hinata's presence in the deserted area. Shikamaru, do you mind if I check on her? Shino's voice carried a note of concern. Since the formation of Team 8, he, Kiba, and Hinata had always been close. They shared a special bond and were always there for each other. It was well known that they were protective of Hinata, viewing her as a sister. After receiving a nod from Shikamaru, the two followed Shino's insects. The scene that greeted them left them stunned. Hinata, the eldest Hyuga heir, was hurriedly leaving the Uchiha's apartment, wearing an oversized blue shirt that almost reached her knees, completely unaware of their presence. Shino avoided to jump into any conclusion after seeing Hinata because he knew her very well. She would never associate herself with the Uchiha survivor. Even if she did, she would have a valid reason. But still his mind couldn't ward off some doubts. Why would she visit him in such a time of the day? That too in his apartment, and what's with those clothes? Shikamaru too was surprised. The calm and kind Hinata here with the cold Uchiha, but something was not right. Shino. I know. They retreated along with his insects. They both didn't want to ask Hinata right away. Shino knew that she herself will give some clarification about what he saw, while Nara knew something surely was going on between those two. Whatever it was, he hoped it wouldn't cause another turmoil in Konoha. Hinata hugged her petite form as she ran quickly to the Hyuga compound. She cursed herself for acting like a fool. She felt like a flirt. How could she simply stare at him? It was the most embarrassing moment in her life. No, ever since she met the Uchiha, she has been only doing things that embarrass herself in front of. Didn't know if she could face him anymore. Nichin, Hina Nichin. Hinata immediately came back to her. Had reached the Hyuga backyard. The garden in the backyard was an exquisite one with a lot of rare and exotic flowers. Hyuga Hikari, her mother, built the garden when she was a mere girl. Now Hinata took it as her job to nurture the garden. It was the only symbol her mother left in this huge Hyuga mansion. Between the colorful blossoms, peppered around the garden, were some highly medicinal herbs. It was her addition to the garden. She had grown a particular interest in medicine over the years. Planting these herbs was her favorite hobby. Moreover, the medicines she made were useful for her teammates and her family. Hinata put on her wet baggy jacket and folded Sasuke's shirt to hide it inside her jacket. She scanned the area and found her sister coming towards, quickly patted her cheeks to vanish the redness and ran a hand to smoothen the wrinkles on her wet jacket. Nichin, where were you? Asked a worried Hanabi who stood at the door looking towards Hinata, who was standing in the garden. It was almost dawn and the youngest Hyuga couldn't find her sister at her chamber. Hinata was always a mother figure for Hanabi. She was kind, caring, and carried a lot of affection and patience in her heart. She was everything that Hanabi wished. Twos were always known to be cold and calculating. They were harsh, stern, and had no sympathy. They were known for their stoic face and immense strength. Their eyes were pale, showed no emotions, while their hair was dark. Her Nei-chan was completely different. She was the epitome of beauty, kindness, and affection. Hinata fumbled as she ran a hand through her long blue hair. Hanabi-chan, what are you doing here so early? Hanabi walked to her. Nichin, I should be asking that to you. Where did you go and why are your clothes wet? Hinata smiled nervously at her younger sister. She was too intelligent for her age. Dodging her questions could make her suspicious. So Hinata decided to answer them. Hanabi, I was training early morning. My clothes are wet because I spilled water while I was drinking. Are you sure it was training, Hinata-sama? Hinata froze hearing that voice. Hyuga Neji, the prodigy and the clan protector, her niece-san was standing right behind her. None could excel this young Hyuga in terms of strength and intelligence. Yes, Neji ni, why? Hinata timidly answered before looking at him. Then why did you use the back entrance? Isn't teammates' training ground on the opposite side? Hinata swallowed nervously. Her older brother was not easily deceived. She always accessed teammates' training grounds through the front entrance because it was closer. Now, what could she say? If he discovered she had gone to visit Uchiha Sasuke, it would cause a major uproar. I decided to practice at Team 7's training ground today, she stammered. Neji raised an eyebrow, clearly expecting a better explanation, when Hanabi squealed. Oh, Ne-chan wanted to impress someone from Team 7. I don't understand why Ni-san is called a prodigy when he can't grasp something as simple as young love. I feel sorry for the woman who marries you, Neji ni, Hanabi said, dramatically wiping away imaginary tears. Hinata blushed furiously at the misunderstanding while Neji felt his own face heat up. However, he maintained a calm exterior. This fiery little thing. Hyuga Hanabi was perhaps the only person in the world who could tease Neji without facing a fierce retaliation. Just wait until I tell Hiyashi-sama about you skipping practice to play games with Konohamaru, Neji retorted, pointing a finger at Hanabi. It was Hanabi's turn to turn bright pink. Hinata giggled while Neji smirked. He was not going to let her go after teasing him in front of Hinata-sama just because she was the heiress. No, you won't, Ni-san, Hanabi whined like a child to Neji while he averted his eyes. Smiling, Hinata walked inside, leaving them knew that her sister was going to pester Neji, so that her little secret wouldn't be revealed to father. Thankfully, Neji Niasen had forgotten his had to be more careful. As she walked towards her chamber, she spotted a Hyuga maid coming towards her with a scroll. Hinata-sama, the maid bowed before Hinata. Yes, Misa-san, Hinata spoke, smiling warmly at her. This scroll was sent to you from the Yamanaka clan, Misa said as she gave Hinata the scroll. Shall I run a bath for you, Hinata-sama? Hinata quickly denied the request. She didn't want the maid to find out about Sasuke's shirt. Moreover, she wanted to be alone for some time in her room. That won't be necessary, please ready my breakfast, Misa-san. Hi. The maid bowed before her and took her leave. Hinata quickly closed the doors to her room and opened the scroll. She was happy that the Yamanaka clan was celebrating Ino's birthday and Ino herself invited her. Putting the scroll away, she made a mental note to shop for Ino's birthday, then opened her wardrobe and carefully tucked Sasuke's blue shirt into one of the drawers with old clothes. She didn't want anyone to find the shirt, especially her sister. Hanabi would make a big fuss about it. Sighing, the princess went to take a bath and relax. Hinata slided deeper into the bath. The aromatic oils used in the incense calmed her heart and lulled her to a meditative state. These moments are a rare occurrence in her life. She loved elaborate. The warm water soothed her skin. She closed her eyes to think about the day's events. A lot had happened. A lot that will change her life and destiny forever. Since a long time, he had been driven exclusively by his brother's ideals. Itachi had sacrificed a lot for this village. Sasuke still didn't agree with his brother's decision of protecting the village. But deep down, he had not forgiven himself for doubting his brother's love for him and his family. For others, to be alive was a blessing. However, for Uchiha Sasuke, being alive was a curse. He didn't give a damn about his years of seeking revenge, hoping to avenge his clan. He couldn't believe that he failed just when he was going to accomplish his goal, destroy the village, and to make his situation even worse, he had been forced to stay in the village he wanted to destroy, the village he still despised. Frankly, he would rather be dead than stay in this rotten village, which he wanted nothing to do with. His worst nightmare had come, was stripped of all his ninja duties and was trapped in the village forever. Just when he had lost his hopes, came the Hyuga girl. Her proposal was a bit shocking to him, but he considered it as his golden ticket for freedom and power in the village. He was tired of being treated like a slave, and he would never want to agree with Konoha's decision. Although he despised marriage and women, he considered Hyuga Hinata as the solution to his current misery. Accepting her proposal would be a perfect blow to the Konoha Council. Smirking, he abruptly stopped walking. Sasuke found himself wandering the streets aimlessly for half an hour. Konoha had changed a lot in the recent years. War had taken a toll on this village. The old roads and buildings were nowhere to be found. Some people carrying goods hastily walking down the road, glancing at him and then murmuring with each other. The last Uchiha chuckled to himself. Psycho Demon. Well, that was a new nickname the civilians had for him. These people of Konoha were really crafty. Murderer, traitor, serial killer, S-class criminal were all the synonyms for Uchiha Sasuke in Konoha. Now he earned another one. The hate, gossips, murmurs and unfriendly glances never bothered him. He didn't care if the crowds loved or hated him. They all were fickle, even the Dobi knows it, and he still adores them. Fear, a certain blonde idiot interrupted his train of thoughts. Sasuke groaned in annoyance. The last thing he needed was Naruto to disturb his peace of mind, though he knew that it was impossible. No matter what happened, he would not say it loud, but that orange-headed moron was his only family left, even though his constant pestering was actually a pain in the ass. Fear. Sasuke turned around with a snarl. Couldn't he be any more louder? I wonder why I haven't gone deaf with that loser near me. Dobi. On hearing Sasuke's reply, Naruto cupped his own cheeks and batted his almost non-existent eyelashes. Is that what you say to your long-lost love, Sasuke-chan? Thwack. What happened couldn't have lasted longer than half a second. Sasuke punched Naruto's kissy face and the Uzumaki was sent flying. Sasuke-chan? I should have killed him before. He already had enough, and the last thing he ever needed was people to gossip about him and Naruto ending up together. If it would ever happen, then Naruto will be finished at his own hands. For a moment, the loser reminded him of that flirty Yamanaka blonde woman who irritated the hell out of him in those academy days. Naruto held his jaw, it hurt intensely. Team, I was just joking. Why on earth would you? His voice trailed off as he spun on his heel, seemingly noticing the Hyuga princess's chakra for the first time since arriving on the scene. Upon being noticed, Hinata walked towards them hesitantly. The morning sun peeked through the clouds, its golden rays softly illuminating the village streets as they grew busier. People walked past in a flurry, like a time lapse, the noise gradually amplifying as shops opened and customers rushed in. A minute and a half passed, and no one had bothered to speak. The three of them stood awkwardly. Sasuke looked at the blonde who usually blabbered but now stood next to him with a slight smile on his face. The Uchiha could sense something was wrong between them. He realized he'd have to break this tense silence. Hyuga, his voice cut through the fog of her mind as her eyes focused on him. Happy that Sasuke greeted her, Hinata spoke warmly, Uchiha-san, it's nice to see you again. Again. All the memories of that night flashed before her. She had been trying to avoid him for the past 2 days. Embarrassed, her cheeks colored, she wasn't prepared to face him right away, and Naruto's presence didn't help. Without thinking much, she decided to get away from them. Well, I should be on my way. I'll see you later, Uchiha-san, Naruto-san. Sasuke's keen vision picked up on Hinata's abrupt greeting and Naruto's hesitance in speaking to her. Those usually expressive ocean eyes were clouded over with thoughts Sasuke couldn't hear. The Hyuga turned back and walked away from them. Suddenly, she stopped. Her body turned slightly to the side as those pearly eyes looked over her shoulder to glance at the dark-haired shinobi. Sasuke didn't bother to avert his eyes from her as Hinata glanced at him. A slight smile formed on the Hyuga's face. He didn't miss the way Naruto watched the dark-haired ninja. He also didn't miss the quickening of his heartbeat when she stopped to smile at him. Only him. He watched as the long-haired Hyuga princess made her way into the bustling city. Honestly, he hadn't meant to ignore her, He wanted to speak to her, but he froze when their eyes met. By the time he regained his composure, she was already bidding them goodbye. He sighed, feeling his shoulders slump. The way she rushed to end the conversation made him uneasy, though he couldn't blame her. After all, it was his fault. Naruto glanced at his best friend warily. The last thing he needed was for Sasuke to focus on Hinata. He quickly dismissed the thought. It seemed impossible for someone as cold and harsh as Sasuke to take an interest in someone as kind and caring as Hinata. Meanwhile, Sasuke waited with a blank expression as Naruto experienced a whirlwind of emotions. His chance to ask Naruto about his troubled look was interrupted by the sudden appearance of Sakura, who burst through the streets with a wide smile on her face. Both boys turned to the last member of their team as she approached. Sasuke-kun. Guys, that's all for the first part. Please subscribe to my channel, Anime Dreams, for more fanfic videos. Thank you. Gratefully, Anime Dreams.